What is going on, guys? My name is AK, back again with another YouTube video. Now in today's video I've got two top tips that are going to make improving as a team so much easier. These two tips are going to really highlight what you need to work on and how best to approach actually working on and improving these bits. So hopefully you guys find today's video interesting. If you do, be sure to drop a like and let's get straight into it. So tip number one is actually on Microsoft Excel. Guys, I know it's weird, but please don't leave. Hang on, I've got a point. But essentially what I did is I just built this small little program within Excel. You can make it yourself. It really isn't very hard. Or maybe I'll try and find a way of actually uploading this and throwing a link in the description. But what this does, this tracks wins and losses on every map. So, very simple tool. I've sort of had a bit of work on this. I've actually had this a while. I made it for like Black Ops 4 or something years ago and never really got much use out of it, being that I wasn't really sticking to one consistent team. But I just sort of brought it back up recently and changed all the maps. Well, the modes were the same actually because it was Black Ops 4, but changed the maps around and added some little functional buttons that can increase the wins and the losses and added some nice effects. But you don't have to do that. The principle is what matters. So essentially what this program allows you to do, it allows you to track wins and losses on every game mode and every map of every game mode. Now this will be really helpful in determining what maps you're good at and what maps you're bad at. I mean, by all means, you're going to have to give this quite a bit of time, maybe a couple of weeks of scrims really to sort of go through and actually start building up some data. But once you've got some, it's really going to show what maps you have good win rates at and what maps you have the lower win rates at. Now this is especially important because if you're just sort of going off memory or what maps do we think we're good at, you can quite often get caught up in what maps do you think you play well on, and then based on what you play well on, you assume that you're necessarily good at that as a team, and then maybe don't focus on practicing on that as much. I personally am very good at Checkmate. I love Checkmate as a map, although from the little bit of work I've been doing on the spreadsheets, Checkmate was actually a map that we weren't winning very often. I just was happening to play quite well on Checkmate, but we weren't actually winning, so that highlighted to me something that we need to do a bit of work on. So it's actually really simple to make. I won't want to go into too much detail because I'm sure you guys don't want a lesson on Excel, but basically I've just put 5 hard points, 5 S&Ds, 3 controls. Again, this is all sort of very easy to edit. If the rotations change, you can just sort of remove columns and whatnot. I added in some buttons. I can't actually remember how I even got these to work. This was quite a while ago that I added them in, but I'm sure you can just sort of in here custom edit them and set them to whatever number you wish to. That's not too hard to sort of organize. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. I've also added some little some coloured what's the word for them? Conditional formatting boxes there, just to sort of give an even easier visual representation of how well we're doing. But building something simple like this just for yourself and for your team is actually going to be really helpful in working out what maps you're good at, especially for veto processes. If you don't know, some tournaments and leagues actually do a map veto system where teams can pick and ban maps that they don't want to play or do want to play. And so having a tool like this to really highlight what you're good at and also what you're bad at is going to be helpful for both working out what you need to improve on and what to spend time on, as well as if you do have to veto maps, making sure that you're picking ones that give you the best chance of winning. So as I said, I'll try and make a version of this available online so you can sort of grab this exact one for yourself. There'll be a link in the description below if I manage to do that. If not, just rebuild it for yourself. Honestly, it will take you 5-10 minutes. So knowing what maps and modes you're good at and which maps and modes you're bad at is good on knowing what to improve. But to actually get a better win rate on those maps, you're going to have to look into more detail and actually start seeing what necessarily on those maps is actually losing you, say, hardpoint time or losing you rounds. And this is where step 2 comes in. So call me old-fashioned, but I think the best way to do this is with a piece of paper and a pen. Now, it's very simple. At the end of every game that you lose, or even games that you win where there's things that you know went wrong, maybe it was a very close hardpoint when it should have been a lot more heavy on your favour, talk as a team, discuss what maybe went wrong that game, and then just mention it and quickly write it down. I know there's no room on this sort of table that I built in Excel actually to fit in any sort of details as towards the maps, but that's why grab a sheet of paper and just write that down. That way, when you're looking back over and actually working on the maps, you know all the things that you need to work on every specific map. Say, for instance, Garrison P3 rotation was one that I wrote down on our last scrim gameplay. And then I know that when we need to go over Garrison, we need to focus on the rotations for P3. How can we do that better? How can we get a better setup that allows us to actually hold that hard point? But all the specifics like that actually need to be sort of written down in detail so that you can actually read over them and then work on them at a future point. Now, one last little point I do want to make about this is don't put everything in this table. If you're playing a pro point against a team whose record is 0-20, you know you're going to beat them. It's not really much of a competition. Don't bother writing that down. On the same note, if you're playing against the best team in Europe, again, if you lose a map, don't really write that down on the spreadsheet. That isn't going to be very helpful. focus on keeping matches that are very close. So maybe every single one of your scrim gameplays, provided it's a close scrim, or if you do play a pro point and it is a close game, again, write that down, but ignore sort of the outlying data that isn't really going to affect it very much. So hopefully you guys have found this video helpful. I really hope this is going to help you improve with your team and sort of, at least bring up sort of a conscious thought about thinking about what maps you're good at. Because I know a whole load of people that will just play. They work very hard, but they don't work very smart. And the phrase is work smarter, not harder, or preferably work very smart and work very hard is sort of how I'm trying to do it. But yeah, I think having this knowledge and being able to actually work on this will give you a sort of a conscious thought about making sure that you are improving and focusing on getting better over time. So I think at least that is very important. But that's about it for today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Drop a like if you did, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.